Welcome back to Blooming in Brisbane. Today we're at Ian and Judy's garden. So Ian and Judy, welcome to Blooming in Brisbane. Tell us about your garden.
Well, Nicole, we've been here for just over 20 years and we haven't always had a gardening passion, but in the last probably 15 years we've really had a passion for gardening. Basically we started off by planting fruit trees. Because we'd lived in Malaya and loved the tropical fruit trees, so we've planted lychees and longans and various types of tropical fruit. So we've got over 70 fruit trees with over 40 different varieties. So you can't really do our sort of gardening without a canopy. So we couldn't really do the understory planting until we had the amount of shade. And then that gave us the full scope, and just to start a few gardens here and there, and it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And Judy and I, we've had our plant passions over the years. Judy loves daylilies, hippeastrums and bromeliads. I love the more tropical plants like the costas and the beehive gingers. And my latest passion is Amorphophallus. Now, why somebody would have a passion for plants that stink like roadkill, I really don't know, but they're an amazing plant. So I've got over 50 different varieties of those and still collecting. And I do love costas and heliconias and the beehive gingers. They're just spectacular. But every year we just do something different in the garden, whether it's building a trellis or a new garden. We've been in the open garden scheme for 12 years. And we open every year to the public, and I do lots of garden talks to garden clubs, and we have bus tours through the garden, and everybody seems to enjoy the garden. We call it a giving garden because not only does it give to Judy and I and our family, it gives to the visitors, and it also gives to the possums and the flying foxes and all the other wildlife that we get in the garden, because we have lots of fruit. And yeah, we're very, very happy working in the garden and just seeing the fruits of our labour. And it's been hard labour. We've done everything ourselves, and it's a gardener's garden. It's not a money garden. It's just something that's been done with a lot of love and a lot of passion and a lot of hard work and a lot of wheelbarrow loads of plants, of soil. And I have to tell you that when we moved in here, every bit of topsoil, it's an acre, every bit of topsoil had been taken away, and it left us with clay right down to 80 foot, because we sunk a bore, 80 foot of clay, and found salt water. So that was the end of that story. So we've ended up by putting tanks in. But every bit of soil, all the garden beds have been raised, all been brought in soil, everything that comes out of the garden goes through the shredder and through the composting process, which I've got metres and metres of compost, and sugarcane mulch, and now the soil's just quite wonderful. But it's taken a lot of time and a lot of hard work to get it that way.
So Ian and Judy, tell me how you keep your garden so lush and beautiful, especially since we've had such extreme weather.
Well, since 2009, Nicole, we've gone through 2009, 7 months without rain, 2000 and last year 5 months without rain, and this year 4 months without rain. So the rain this week has been an absolute blessing. With having 107,000 litres of rainwater really helps the garden. It's far better than using town water because there's no chemicals in the rainwater. But as far as fertilizing goes and keeping the plants healthy, we use a product called Natra kelp, which is a pure kelp from Tasmania, and we use that both as a soil conditioner, and we also use it as a foliar spray. And as using it as a foliar spray with a little bit of liquid detergent in it, it sticks to the leaves. It just improves the plant's cell structure and makes that plant cope better with the drought and with any extreme conditions. Especially good if you're in a colder climate in the winter where you're getting a lot of wind or even a frost. The kelp will really help that plant get through that. So we go through a lot of that, and we find it's just wonderful stuff for the garden. We don't use chemical fertiliser, a little bit of organic extra on the lawns to bring them green, but mainly kelp. It's just wonderful.
How do you go with pests and disease in your garden?
Yes, well, look, we do get them, especially the black lily grub, which we call the monster, because it attacks crinums, it attacks hippeastrums, and once it's finished with those, it will go on to your clivias. So anything basically with a bulb, it will attack. Unfortunately, I do have to spray them with a systemic spray, because there's nothing really else to get rid of them, but I'm very, very careful. I only do it at a certain time because we have native bees and I don't want to do anything to hurt my native bees. So I do it late of an evening when all the bees have gone to bed, and I don't spray them when they're in flower because the bees, of course, will come and start pollinating. So we've learnt to spray to kill the grubs, and the bees are still happy in the garden.
How many native bees, like boxes, do you have around your garden?
Well, we have 2 big boxes of bees, and they're there here for a specific purpose, and that's to pollinate all the fruit trees around the garden. And they're just wonderful. They're stingless. They're a little bit of a pest at times when you're cutting the box in half to split them, and they stick to you like glue, but they're lovely little things, and we like them. But we have possums, and we have koalas, and we have the lorikeets, and we have our pet magpies, and we have snakes, but we only have the tree snakes. So the other day I think I saw 3 walking around the garden. So and we have our lizards, and yeah, we love the wildlife, and it's a giving garden, so there's something for the wildlife and for Judy and I and our friends and visitors.
Wow, that's lovely. Let's have a look around the garden.
Okay, I'd be pleased to show you around.
So Judy, tell me about this area here, all this beautiful colour.
Okay, Nicole, we're in the Bromeliad shed, and these are Neoregelias here. You can see they have really good colour. The colour comes from the 50% shade. They need much more light than the Guzmanias, and as you can see, a lot of them are now this time of year coming into flower, and they went through the dry quite well, but you can see now that the rain has really put the real colour back into them.
And do you fertilise these, or you don't fertilise them?
Yes, I fertilise them when I first plant the pups out. I use a 8 to 9 month long life fertiliser, and that carries them right through until they flower.
So Ian, tell me about your favourite plant, or one of your favourite plants.
Well, I think my very favourite plant in the garden is the costas. Now, the costas are a very, very interesting plant because they're found right across the equatorial belt. So they're found in South America, Africa and Asia. Now this particular one here is Costas barbatus, cosmosis, or the common name is red tower ginger. Now this is the sexiest plant in the garden, right? The leaves are just like the softest velvet underneath. The flowers can last for anything up to 7 months and get to about 30 centimetres long. And these yellow buds here, they're edible. I'm a bit of a collector of costas, so I've got about 46 different varieties. I've got some of the names are quite funny: Eskimo kiss, French kiss. So yeah, but they're a very, very interesting plant, and they're very easy to propagate too, because once it's finished flowering, you just cut it off at the stem, and you can put the whole stem under some compost, and they'll shoot again from each of these segments under the compost, or you can cut them into lengths about 8 inches or long, put them in a pot, and little buds will appear, and that's your new growth. So they're a very, very great plant for the garden, and you can propagate them easily yourself. These will take full sun, they'll take part shade. The majority of them do like part shade. But they're a collector's plant, and I do have a passion for costas as well as all the other things too.
Yep.
Yeah, so there you go. That's probably the friendliest of all the costas.
So Ian, tell me about this section of your garden.
Well, this is my latest plant passion. Amorphophallus. Why would anybody want to have a collection of stinky plants? Because they smell like roadkill when they're in flower. In fact, titanium, the big one, the really big one that's up to 2 meters high, evidently you can smell that from 2 kilometers away. But I'm just collecting, so I've got 55 here, which are all different. This is a smaller version. This is Amorphophallus bulbophyllum, and it's just a small version, and that's the flower of it, commonly known as a snake plant. It does stink, so don't get too close. We made the mistake of putting a large one, a konjac, outside our bedroom window, and one morning I woke up and said to Judy, "What's that terrible smell?" And of course it was konjac in flower. But as you can see, here's one here that's a very, very rare one. It's Amorphophallus longnooch, and you can see the little seed pod in there. It's absolutely beautiful. And there's about 200 different varieties, so I've still got a long way to go. And the unusual thing about these is that pattern on the stem, like snake skin, every single one has a different pattern. So you can recognise the type of plant by that pattern. They're found in Asia. There's some even found in Australia, in northern Australia, and some even in the colder climates, like even Tasmania and Europe. But of course, the ones in Europe you pretty much can't grow here. But they're just such an interesting plant, and I'm really excited to watch them come up and see all the different patterns, and to see them flower. Now here's one. This is out today, and this is the first time that I've seen this one in flower. Look at that one. Amorphophallus variabilis. And you see the stem pattern on that, how different it is from the others. So, wow. Now that's a first for me today. So I'm really excited.
Yeah,
and I get excited. So I'll get my camera out and I'll take a photo and I'll put it on the web on my blog. So yeah, that's fabulous. Wow.
Thank you so much for Ian and Judy for letting us visit, and we'll leave you now to take your photos and do your blogging. Now a special message for our newfound friends. Thank you so much for joining us on Blooming in Brisbane.
It's been great fun sharing all our love of gardening with you.
And we'll be back next year, and we look forward to your company in 2014.
Season 2 of Blooming in Brisbane begins in March 2014. In the meantime, join us on Facebook, Blooming in Brisbane. I'm Nicole Ackworth. Good night.